Hello, everybody. I am really beyond excited about Lady Amaran being here. She's one of these beautiful, magical beings. And off camera, I said something about her and I being kindred spirits. And I
Mhm.
think it's very much because the frequency that her and I walk in, you could maybe say big energy, whatever that is, right? Like it's just um, we know who we innately are underneath all of it and have made very specific points and directions to move into really experiencing who we are in a much more even more profound expansive manner so that we can bring our magic into the world. And that's why I was kind of giggling before I started the recording is um, because we connected so deeply, we at one point actually were speaking on a monthly basis, and we will be getting that going again because her and our conversations are, I don't know, they're just so magical. Like you look at her and you just can feel the magic and the joy exude. I think you do the same thing when you look at myself as well. It's just like I want to be a part of that energy, right? The thing is that you never know what's underneath. You don't know what's underneath. For me, I'm very much coming in from the inner child, inner dragon kind of arena. And Lady Amaran has a completely different energy of who she is under it. And that's what really drew me to her to begin with. Like, you guys, you got to get on our mail list immediately. First off, I wanted to make sure that you knew that I love, love, love your emails because of the way that they come out. Like, people aspire to create emails like Lady Amaran, okay? Uh, she is also very much a gamer, okay? Now, take that in for a moment. For me, I've never been a gamer. Like I was Tetris. Like that's how old school I am. I was Pac-Man, okay? No, Lady Amaran is a gamer like my 30 plus year old son is, like my daughter and her husband are, right? Like a gamer. And that flavor, she really took that and learned from that how to present herself. And I really, oh my gosh, I just want to say so much, except that the floor should technically be yours. And your conversation today is literally about the hero's awakening, how quantum human design and storytelling can set you free. So I was trying beginning, not trying, I was beginning to attempt to say, but I would love for you to express it. There was a big shift in what you really recognize the hero as being and how that actually became a big part of who you are. So maybe start with that if you don't mind, please, Lady Amaran.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm first of all a big gamer from way back when. And though I just want to nothing wrong with Tetris and Pac-Man. I love them too. So, but in the context of what you're talking about, more big games, um, grew up with Dungeons and Dragons, right? Um, and in my more recent years, uh, had started to through my own personal journey of personal development and understanding who I am, um, who I want to be, uh, and working towards that, uh, I started to recognize a lot of um, the crossover, I guess, if you will, um, from things that I had learned about myself and just interacting and making choices in general through playing characters, heroes in games like Dungeons and Dragons. Um, and how putting yourself in that type of environment, the fantasy, you're stepping into someone else, if you will, this character that you've created intentionally for whatever experience you're going for. Um, and how doing that gives you almost carte blanche to try new things, be a different person, make different choices, experience, if you're very timid like I was, especially as a child, was very shy and timid. And so here I could be like some brash barbarian warrior, always jumping in first and saying the wrong thing, right? Um, and experience like how that could be. And so as I started to understand the the tool that that could be in personal growth, if done with a little bit more intention, um, and how that actually related to like, oh, it spoke to me in a way of like the the things that I wanted to be, the person, and realizing it's like, well, why can't I be that? Why can't I be the hero of my own life? And why can't I write my own story of who I am and my life experiences? And yeah, I mean, life is gonna life. We're not saying, but um ultimately how I frame the story, the narrative of the things that are going on in my life, uh, I can basically write my story as I'm the victim, or I'm, heaven forbid, I'm my own villain, right? As often we do. Um, or I can write myself as the hero. Um, and and that doesn't, and I want to make sure this, like, that doesn't have to look like you are, let's say the Witcher with the sword and you can conquer all, right? Kind of thing, the massive sword swinging, hero. It's like Bilbo Baggins is a hero, right? Gandalf is a hero. Like, you heroes look different to everybody. Everybody is one, and how that manifests for you is going to be different. Not all of us need to be frontline fighters, basically. You've got to have the different archetypes ultimately of the hero. Um, so did that answer your question? I don't know. I can
It
I can
did,
just
it
keep
did.
going.
No, and I know, and it's like you're giving such incredible aha moments. I think that me, I want to stand back and let you exude because it's just like, ooh, I want to soak this all in. I love the part. First of all, guys, before I say what I love about what she just said, write in the comments the character that you've created or your gamer name or whatever it is. I love having a persona, an aspect of myself, whatever it is, and I speak a lot about that in my own work. And what I heard you say that I think was extremely powerful is, am I going to be the hero in my story? Am I going to be the villain in my story? Am I going to be a sidekick? Like, what am I in my story? Like, that's huge. That is
It is,
really,
and
really big.
it's something that we as people in general, just in our day-to-day life, if you haven't already gone through something like this, some kind of work like this, most of us don't understand that whether you think of it as playing a character in a story or not, all of us are playing a character in a story. And this is like just bottom line right here, just like, what, 10 minutes in. Bottom line, you get to choose the character that you want to be, and you get to write the story. It is not someone else's story. You're not living in someone else's story. It is your story. Now you can give the pen to someone else and let them pen your story. And from personal experience, heaven help you if you do that. Let's just say. But understanding that, and right, then understanding it's like, okay, well, yeah, who is the character that I want to be? Uh, for me personally, yeah, like I, for a very long time in my life, I was actively choosing, again, not consciously in this concept of like characters, but I was choosing to be my worst villain, my own worst villain, by the things that I would say to myself and do. I mean, truly villainous if you look at it through the context of like if you would do this to someone else, you really are the villain in their life, right? So we do this to ourselves and we become our own worst villain. Um, or a lot of us also take the sidekick, or this bystander, where we're not going to step up and make our own choices and claim our power to control the things that we can control in our lives. And so just like, okay, well, you just tell me what to do, or I'm just gonna sit back and watch life go by and not really, all that kind of stuff. So, um, but yeah, when you actually start to understand, it's like you are playing a character. You can choose what character that is, and you are in a story, and you can choose how that story is written. I mean, for me, it was literally a game changer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, we could truly, you and I think we could really wax poetic about how when you're speaking really illy of yourself, and that's how my story starts. When I start to talk about myself, I literally tell people about how rude and ignorant and belittling I was to myself, and I'm hearing the same thing in you, realizing that I was the villain in my own story. Like when you first said that to me in this type of conversation for one of our podcasts, I was like, whoa, holy Dinah, right? So yeah, things changed dramatically for myself when I started to see the little concepts of this. So explain now, like we're all doing little bits and pieces, and another little aspect of yourself is the quantum human design. So how does that fit into there?
So I want to say fell into quantum human design, but it also kind of like smacked me in the face around a couple times before I fell in, right? It's as we are all familiar with how that sometimes works. Um, a few, gosh, several years ago now, uh, and I was absolutely fascinated with how it helped me personally to understand my character on an innate, energetic, this is who I was created, or but how I was created to function optimally in this human experience, right? Um, and how it lends itself to a level of storytelling in that concept. Um, so for me, it was just this amazing experience through learning quantum human design of learning myself better and being able to better align with my natural state so that I could be working with my natural state instead of against it, as most of us, unfortunately, are working against our natural state because of the way that society has formed and the way that we're told, do this, don't do that, and everything. We think like, oh, to be productive, I've got to do this. Well, that's true for some people, but not for others, right? Um, so understanding that, I started to see how I was designed to flow through life. It didn't have to be a constant struggle and beating my head against the wall. And um, how I could, oh, okay, for me personally, like I have um, these peaks and valleys, if you will, or stair steps of and plateaus of growth and learning and everything. Then it's like I hit a wall. And usually, like before this, I'd be like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I keep going? Like I was in such a great stride, and now I just like can't seem to do anything. And the creativity just flew right out the window. It's like, but now with this understanding, I can go, oh, okay. I know this. I'm on a plateau. Let me just sit back and relax, wait for it to kick back in, or go do something else in the interim while I'm waiting for this to pick back up. I can go work on this, um whole whole new level of awareness through the lens of quantum human design, even to the point of interacting with not just understanding myself on that deep personal level, but interacting with the people around me, right? Like I understand how I react in certain situations just on that energetic unconscious level. Uh, so when I'm in my creative flow, right, and somebody interrupts me, oh boy. You, you, you better watch out. Like talk about, breathing fire, right? With, don't be on the receiving end of that, basically, But now having that awareness of like, okay, if I'm in my creative flow and I get interrupted, then I know my knee-jerk reaction is going to be to lash out, to be upset, to be angry, frustrated. Um, but because I know that, I can now go through, if that situation arises, with intention and awareness and go, okay, I know I want to just start yelling at you right now because you came into the room and I was like really in it. And to go, okay, I need to like not and I have spent time then through that awareness going, what do I need to do for me so that I can get back into it and not just stay in that state of like what I would typically do before this would be just super frustrated and basically just throw my hands up. Well, the day is ruined. Like that's just it. I can't get back to it. I'm just like, I might as well just curl up on the bed now because, it's only noon, but clearly the whole day is ruined. Um, I'm like, that's neither practical nor helpful, right? So, but understanding is like, okay, I know if this happens, this is my knee-jerk reaction. I can avoid that for the most part, through the awareness of like, okay, don't lash out, don't lash out, don't lash out. And then go, okay, I know things that I can do now to help put myself back into that creative state instead of
Mhm.
just throwing my hands up and going, it's all for naught. Um, and then, of course, my dear hubby uh is is less singed, let's say, at that when he happens to interrupt. But I can also do things to preempt that, right? Through this understanding, it's like, oh, okay, make sure that I inform those around me to um that I'm going to be, getting into creative, like please don't disturb, or whatever that needs to be. But tell them it's like, hey, at least like for the next hour until I come out of my office, like please don't. Um, and then that can help to just even offset the interruption to begin with. Um,
So I'm going to stop you there because
yeah.
I got a couple things that I would like to say to this. One is it's really interesting, like you talked about your hubby, and for those of us who have a partner, whatever that it looks like, I have a door that I close, and I found in all of my treasures from my childhood, I found this door hanger that I can hang on the door that's from when I was like 8 years old, and it says "Do not disturb" on it, and that goes on my door. So he knows when that door is closed. Like if it's cracked open, that's a whole different thing. But if it's closed and that thing's hanging there. I also wanted to ask something really specific here, what some others might be going about. And now I'm I I'm into human design. I know what human design is about too. Is quantum human design different than the basic human design that's out there? So that's the question I have right now.
Yes, and that's an excellent question. So the simple, not simple answer is yes. Um, so it is different, but it's the same. So traditional, what I refer to as traditional human design. So the classic that if you're familiar with, you're probably familiar with that. Um, when Ra created it, did his thing to pull it together. The language used in that traditional human design was specifically for basically, as I like to say, the slap you across the face, wake the F up, kind of language for people that were at that point in their journey where they just needed that wake up call, so it's a little, not a little bit, it's quite a bit more like crash and in your face type of language. Um, so and Ra had uh always said that eventually he wanted to create a basically like an up-leveled, if you will, um, version of human design that was for the people, like the next step, right? The people it's okay, you're awake, you got it, but what's next, kind of thing. And he passed away before he was able to do that. One of his students took that on. Um, and created quantum human design. So basically, she took what she had learned working with him in the realm of human design, the traditional human design, with that language and everything, and worked. It's a really fun story of how she, and like scientifically like worked with the energetics of words and the frequencies and everything, of the words she was, thinking about and all this to create quantum human design. Um, so basically it's the yeah, for those that don't necessarily need that initial like just slap across the face, this is, you need to wake up to this, like understand yourself here, kind of things like, okay, now this is what this really looks like going forward. So in a somewhat nutshell, that's the difference. So it is the same, but it's also different.
I'm so glad I asked the question because I imagine, first of all, other people were curious. Also, too, though, I really recognize, like, I'm a projector, and one of the first things it tells me as a projector is that I am not supposed to, I'm supposed to wait for people to ask me. And already I can feel by what you said of how this beautiful soul went in and recreated. And when I say recreated, it was more expanded upon to make it become what it naturally would evolve into next, right? And when like, and that's what I did with even that phrase. Like I naturally evolved it to have it work with me versus me sitting back on a shelf waiting for somebody to come to me. And I love, love, love this quantum human design. I've got two of the human design books that were out there. So yeah, this is absolutely fascinating. So now, how how are you? What's the most profound thing that you've noticed about this for yourself when you're helping others to look at their lives?
Through with the quantum human design.
Yeah,
It's kind of, and it is one of my favorite parts in working with other people is like literally seeing the look on their faces when they get it. Like that level of, you mean I'm not doing life wrong? Like feeling this way or wanting to be like this, like that's actually like how I'm designed to function. Like it's such a beautiful moment. But it really is like that's really is a big core of it is just like that level of, and it's so I'm a time bender in quantum human design, a manifesting generator. Um, which means that my inability to sit still, my constantly going and jumping from this to this to this, and it's just all that kind of stuff, right? Uh, that's natural for me. Multitasking is actually essential for me as a time bender. Now, it is not for the other types. Um, But for me, so all of the years growing up and even in my adulthood of like, focus on one thing, everybody telling me, it's like, focus on one thing, stop doing this and this and this, and just like, and or I'm too flitty or I try this and this, and um like, okay, so that's not me being a bad person in at least in our society, consider, it's me being me. It's me being authentic to who I am because I am designed to not sit here for 4 hours straight working on one project. It's just not who I am. I need to get up and I need to go do the laundry and make some food. And then I'll come back and keep working on this. And I'll also be working on another project sitting here while I'm working on this project. And because that's my energy, right? And there's a lot, it's so if anybody is familiar with human design or astrology, you understand like it's, and most people are a little bit more familiar with astrology and how like expansive and dense, let's say, that system is. Like there is a lot going on there. Human design, quantum human design is similar. Like there's so much to it. Um, so the first place we start is just, what's your type, right? Um, and but there's, you know, a lot of layers to that onion. Um, to look at and helping you understand like, how you're working or not working in flow. And most of us through, our conditioning through society and parents and just all the things, whether for good or not, right? Intentional or not, um, we've all been conditioned to not be who we really are, right? Um, Both in the character side of things and also the human design side of things. Um, so just having that moment of helping people to see, like, oh, I actually need to not push, or I need to actually like rest. I'm not designed to work the way the world says, like, hustle and if you're not working, then you're not doing it right. Like, no, you need to rest more, and whatever it is for you as the individual, right? But just seeing that level where I mean, is if I gave people nothing else other than just that first glimpse, like it's still life changing. And I absolutely love seeing that working with clients.
I love hearing what you're saying because, I said I'm a projector. I'm an orchestrator projector. And which makes entire sense because look at it. We're sitting here in the middle of a summit, a 3-day summit, where all these people have come together. I've orchestrated that. I have orchestrated reunions for family reunions where my dad actually has 12 brothers and sisters, and I've invited, like, done all that. I've done multi-year reunions for high school where I'm the one who's orchestrated that. So learning that I was this in the human design just made so much more sense. It was one of those puzzle pieces that really fell into place.
Right.
So
Yeah.
when I love some of the terminology you use like the heroic storytelling, the soul sparking session. What expand on that. Expand on that, please.
So, s- so when I'm working with people, basically what I wanted to do is take you out of um, this place, this world, if you will, and what I consider just taking you back into the real world. Um, and doing that for me, the easiest way and honestly the most logical way to do that is to take you into the fantasy realm, right? Because when we're doing that, whether we're watching a movie, reading a book, whatever it is, playing a game, right? When you go, I'm no longer in this reality, whatever, we consider our current state to be, um, oh, I'm in like Middle Earth or I'm in Narnia or whatever, like places where things beyond what we automatically assume by our own life experiences say is possible, your brain automatically shifts into that. So if I say you're no longer sitting in your chair at you are now at the Wandering Snail and an Apothecary in the realm between worlds where anything's possible. Uh, you are hero. You are whoever you say you are, and understanding how to do that in alignment with your natural energy, how you were created in that state. Um, it helps, it basically makes the process easier because it helps you step out of your own way from the conditioning and our assumptions of, well, I can't do that. Um, I've been working with the group and it's been really fun seeing how they're leaning into the process of starting to shift out of the, well, I can't do that. I was like, well, okay, could I do this? Like as in the session and realized like, oh yeah, just because, gravity might, in our current perception say that you can't do that, doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do that here. Um, and so it helps you get out of your own way to start finding more creative ways of thinking and problem solving and just to me it lights things up in a way that is just so magical and allows you to start to understand how to bring that into back into your everyday life. Um, and yeah, I could go on. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, there's something I want to add to this. Okay. I spoke earlier in the All About Woo Summit on a different day about how I have this crystalline castle out here. And at first I thought it was only there. And then I realized that wherever I go, it's there. Like it's there with me. If I'm over here, it's over there kind of thing. Like it's always there. It's just this is where it first presented, and I thought that's the only place it could be. And then one day I was sitting in my living room and all these dragons appeared because I was listening to this YouTube frequency music. And then I was heard this, whatever, And why I'm telling you, the group, this is that what Lady Amaran is assisting you with is putting you into a level where you can accept this magic in a far more everyday occurrence in your life. And we talk about purpose, and people are always looking for their purpose. Technically and truthfully, in my way of thinking, and that notice how I said that this is my way of thinking. I'm not pushing this on anybody. But my way of thinking is our purpose is to feel wonderful on a day-to-day basis, to love our life, to enjoy living our life. And knowing that these dragons are around me, knowing that this crystalline castle is here, knowing that I'm Adrian Dane, like that's magical, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened? Go ahead. You probably want to expand on that already,
Oh,
right?
yeah, just right, because it really is. And one thing now, and I know a lot of people look at me and it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to be walking around in corset and ears and all this, in my day-to-day life, which is totally fine. Everybody's got their own thing, but understanding and starting to be able to shift into that. So this is my way of reminding myself every day of who I am and who I am growing to be with intention, right? So I have my amulets, I have my outfits, and all that, and that's my way. It's like, and I have, stuff all around, and I think we've talked about, my office before, but just those things. And so, yeah, when you start like just taking those little steps uh, to start to incorporate the physical part of your inner hero, it helps to pull that even more into the everyday, right? If that, I'm hoping that is making sense
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have any questions that you would like to prompt the people listening with? Do you have a question?
Oh. Um, hmm, interesting. Uh, well, I guess one of the things that I have found most helpful, and especially like as the starting point of the journey, is go back to when you were a kid, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Um, think about the stories you loved, whether it's, and so I wasn't a reader, right? So I did mostly movies, but whether it was movies, TV, books, whatever it was, think of the characters in those things that you were most drawn to, that as a kid, we don't necessarily think of it this way on a logic standpoint, but like I resonate with this character. Um, and think, and most likely, most people are going to notice as they start going through all their favorite stories and all this, you're going to see a thread of the archetype character that you were most drawn to. And more often than not, it's because that is who you were, that archetype. Now, again, I'm not saying that character specifically, but that archetype is who you were designed to be. And again, in your own way. right? So for me, as I, looked back and realized like, oh, right. Like I always now, of course, everybody wants to be the hero and with the sword and all that kind of stuff. Or the damsel and but thinking beyond that basic level, right? I realized like, oh man, I always wanted to be Glinda the Good Witch from Wizard of Oz, right? Or Gandalf, from Lord of the Rings, or Gladriel, right, from Lord of the Rings. So
For me, it was
that,
the lion. I wanted to be
right,
the lion. I wanted to be the wolf. I wanted to be Puff the magic dragon.
love it. Yeah. So you see like how that thread, like if you look back, so that would be um a good question to like stop and look back and see, okay, what was the character archetype in these stories that I was most drawn to? Why and what does that resonate in me now? And
Hmm.
this is the magic of bringing in the quantum human design, is because now when you do that and then you can look at your quantum human design, you can see how that works together. So for me, when I actually stopped and recognized, okay, this is the archetype that I always resonated with, like again, unconsciously as a child, um, I realized that in my adulthood, that that is who I always wanted to go to, right? I always wanted to be the healer guide, right? Um, and through understanding my quantum human design, I realized, oh, look at that. That's who I was designed to be. And again, it's going to be in my own unique way. Like, I'm not trying to be Gandalf, right? Um, but that archetype and that guide level is like that's literally who I'm designed to be and how I'm designed to do things, and ultimately, my ultimate purpose. Um, so that's like yeah, so to me that was is just like, oh, these things totally go together. Like it just made sense to me. But yeah, so think about that, right?
So let's actually give everybody a moment to take this in, and we are prompting you to write in the chat who, or in the feed of YouTube, if you're watching this via the YouTube, um, write down who's that character that you resonate with from your childhood stories. And we'll just be quiet for a moment, okay?
And I just want to, as everybody's doing this, I want to point out that thinking about it from multiple levels, because when I was in my pain and my victim, um, uh, being my own villain, space, I thought that I was supposed to be the warrior archetype, because I just wanted to swing swords and kill people because I hated life and I just felt horrible on an internal level. When I really stopped and went deeper, I realized in myself, it's like I didn't actually want to be, in my own personal words, the violent one, right? Like I didn't want to lop off heads. Like as much as sometimes I really do kind of, but I don't. Like that's not the archetype that I know deep down I'm supposed to be. Some people are supposed to be that because, we need every archetype to make the world go round. But so thinking about that too is like, go a little bit deeper than your first, and it might be your first, but dig a little bit deeper than that and see if that's really what's resonating with you.
So interesting because for those of you who um, are consciously aware of frequency in that, like I literally felt the energy rise as you stepped into this exercise. For myself, when I said, "Oh, I wanted to be the lion of Narnia. I wanted to be Puff the Magic Dragon. I wanted to be the wolf in Peter and the Wolf." Like I can so see that because I want to take people places so they can see something. That just makes such entire sense to me. And I never would have put that together if you had not been here today, Lady Amaran.
Right. And that's the thing, is like understanding the characters beyond the character themselves and understanding the archetype that they represent in the story. Um, because that's where the magic is, right? Because you aren't here to be Gandalf as Gandalf, right? But the archetype that he represents in that story, right, is the key. So and right, it could be like, okay, for any Narnia fans, right, Reepicheep, like, oh my God, like one of my favorite characters. Um, yeah, you can resonate with narratives. It doesn't have to be a human, you know, character in the story to understand the archetype that it represents. Um, so yeah, don't box yourself in with what we think, is logical or doable or whatever. It's like, yeah, see
Yeah.
it through the lens of the archetype that that character represents.
So, and to aid you in this, look at what you've written or look at what you've thought about, and what is the character trait or the action that that character did or does that really is the piece that draws you in. Okay, so like Barbara wrote about Nancy Drew, Deborah wrote about Cinderella. There's a specific character trait there.
Right.
Like yeah, because and even Snow White, like I can already see how it wasn't about her, being rescued by the whatever. It was more about how she tended to those who were gathered around her that she cared for.
Right.
Oh man, lady.
Right. And that's the thing. And to look at those deeper things and see, yeah, why is it that you're drawn to that character like Cinderella's? Like, are you drawn to that character because you feel helpless? Or are you drawn to that character because you understand her heart, even in the difficult situation that life handed her, right? We all been there, right? Um, and she still took care of things and she still had joy, even in that difficult situation, right? And she, as much as most of us in our lives would look at that and go, like, why she wouldn't trying to like murder that woman like every chance she got, but that wasn't her mentality, right? So understanding that's like, so yeah, digging into what is it that's resonating with you in that. Like again, for me, Gandalf, Gladriel, uh Glinda, um, it was the thread of they're the ones that have clearly, like we don't necessarily see it in the stories, but they've clearly been through so, a lot to get to the point where they're at. And they're at that point to say, I want to be there to guide others so that they haven't not always easier, but more intentional and lit path, if you will. Holding that light, like, and won't go into all the, and human design. I'm a hermit, and anyway. But that's the thing. It's like I've always resonated with that. Like I just want to be like, holding my lantern up. It's like this is the way, guys. This is the way. Um, stay out of the bog, like don't go that way, come over here, that type of things. Like that's what I realized resonated through the thread of all of those characters. The archetype of that character was to guide. And what I realized, not just to guide, not to tell you what to do, but to show you the way and let you explore it in your own way, right? Glinda could have said, girl, just knock those things together right now. Like, you're good. Like, she didn't, right? Because there was a journey that needed to happen. The growth is in the journey, not the destination, and not going to a guide for the magic pill to transport, because then now we're skipping over the journey, which is the whole point, right? So, all right.
Oh my God, I just love you. Oh, you guys. Uh, what do you want to expand on this before I say anything else? Take a moment to read what people have written in the chat there, because there's quite a bit of information because of the questions that we spurred to them. Is there something that you'd like to highlight from what you read there? And I'll just give you a moment, Lady Amaran, because there's a fair amount. I'm just loving, like, it's so comical because on one hand, we can tell the age of the person by who their characters are, which is beautiful in its own sense. Like, I absolutely love it. And it also goes to show, well, Lady Amaran's just taking a peek at that, that there's always going to be heroes, villains, and the supporting roles, and that's in any level of our life and whatever it is. Like, um I love now, like, I'm so glad that we had this conversation, Lady Amaran, because my putting in there about this character that I choose to be, this persona of Adrian Dane, I can now recognize that that person that I met, that's between lives, that is me, and I'm on this cliffside, and just what happened there and everything, like a magical stuff, but really standing in my power. That is Adrian Dane. Oh my gosh, like, it was just like, ah.
Yeah, and that's the thing of um understanding, and I want to, and I love that you pointed this out, but I want to dig into it just a little bit more specifically. There, in every story, there are multiple types of characters, right? Like, you've got the hero and the villain and the sidekick and the bystander and the, all the things, right? What I'm talking about, and in at different points, or how to say this clearly. Uh, so in your story, you are meant to be the hero, uh, the main character, right? Um, and that doesn't again mean that, oh, life is all hunky-dunky or you're not going to have, trials. Like, life is designed to push against us so that we grow. Like, that is actually, it's not a fault, it's the process. It's designed that way, for that purpose. Because if we just sit back and have no problems, then what do I need to do? Like, I don't, but when life pushes up against us, and FYI, your human design is designed this way too, to actively push against you in certain ways so that you grow. Um, but understand, it's like, yeah, in your story, you're meant to be the main character, the hero, right? But in someone else's story, maybe you are meant to be the sidekick, right? Because in their story, they're and I'm just gonna say it. If you are being the hero character, the main character in somebody else's story in your life, then please stop. Let them be the main character in their own life.
Mm.
Be the sidekick, be the guide, whatever. You can, you're a part of their story, right? But you're not the main character of their story. You're the main character of your story. And if somebody else is playing the main character in your story and you're sitting back being the sidekick or the bystander, or can heaven forbid the villain, um, or the victim, please hear my heart. Take the pen back. You have the power to be the hero of your own story and write whatever freaking story you want that to be.
I want to give two examples of this too, Lady
Yeah.
Amaran.
Sorry.
Nope, no, that's
I'm
okay. I
very
can,
passionate about this.
and you know, rightly so. And I want to give the examples here. So, both of these are my own tales. One is what I was just saying about recognizing that this beautiful warrior woman is Adrian Dane standing on the cliff, et cetera, et cetera. I was not technically the hero on one hand. I was literally bucking the system. I was literally saying, no, this is not going to be what it is. And I was speaking to the ancient ones and asking them to change their mind, right? So there's that. And I actually came out as in what it doesn't matter. The other one, though, that I want to relate is real world, meaning this world that I'm living in right now. And I went to the funeral of a young gentleman. My daughter was best friends with his sister at that time too, et cetera, right? And I went in to help this mom in every way that I could to take away those emotions so she wouldn't have to deal with it. And so I'm so hearing what you're saying because after the fact I realized how absolutely wrong that was for me to do that. Although I thought I was in the right space and doing the right thing at that time. Like, you guys
It usually
give
comes
yourself
from
a
a good
break.
place,
Yeah,
right?
it is. It was
Yeah.
coming from my heart. However, I was taking away from her own experiences that she personally had to live through and become the hero of her own story.
Right. Right. And if you think about that through the context of the hero's journey, right? The classic, um, it you have to go through the valleys and the trials and up against the challenges to to become that. And then guess what? We do it all over again to level up. Um, so it's an ever-going thing, and understanding it's like you, how I see it is your ultimate power comes through choice. You can choose to continue being the victim. You can choose to continue being the bystander. You can choose to be the hero. And you can choose how you write the story about all the tiny little things, all the big things. Um, and there's a whole lot of fun that we can get into on how to write that narrative. Um, and I know we're about out of time, but
We are.
yeah.
Um, and I want to two things. One is I just want to say that I have taken part in some of Lady Amaran's stuff. Highly, highly recommend it. Is there anything, secondly, is there anything that you'd like to point out in what you've seen in the chat feed that you want to just highlight?
Yes. Oh, thank you. I was looking through that and I just want to note, so several people actually said that a specific character didn't pop out at them immediately. Um, but the idea or the energy, behind that character, that's totally fine. Right? If you can bypass actually like pitting an exact character to go to the energy and the intent, the purpose of that character, the archetypal sense of that character, then great. You just save yourself stuff. It's like it's all good.
Love that.
Um, so yeah, and also keeping in mind to again look at multiple stories, right? So not just the one. So let's say like go back to Cinderella. Okay, so that's one. Let's look at some other stories. Like what was the character drawn to with that, and find that um the thread because you'll see it, and that will help you. I want to say like solidify, if you will, that you're on the right track in that, right? Because again, like for me, the warrior is like, okay, yeah, on the surface level for a long time, I was in that energy and I thought that that was who I was supposed to be. I was just gonna burn down the world, right? Um, but when I actually looked deeper, it's like, oh, okay, no, I actually see this is who I really resonate with, and I see the thread because that was just like, wait, like for me, it's like, oh yeah, I always liked Glenda, but I thought it was on a whole other level for a whole other reason, whatever. Um, and Gandalf, I mean, who doesn't like? I mean, he's just cool, right? Um, and then when I started to look at it and go, oh, but I also like Galadriel, like I really resonate with her, and but why, so yeah, you really can start to see like think beyond just the first character that comes up, or the first, first thought. But yeah, don't if it's the energies or the themes, don't think you have to think of the actual character if you're just bypassing that and going straight to the
Okay.
theme. So,
There is one other question in there that I think could be
oh,
addressed easily. Is there an archetype of judger?
of judger.
That's one of the questions.
Interesting. Um, and
Or is it
ultimately,
something?
yes.
Okay.
Uh, what I would say to that, um, is for the purposes of personal growth, and let's say in the right direction, what do you mean by that? Um, So, and again, everybody, like my interpretation, my knee-jerk reaction of what a judger would be in my mind might be very different than what it is in your mind. So I might be interpreting that differently. Um, for me, that goes to I'm gonna stand on my high horse and say, you doing it wrong, you doing it right, you do, and which I do have a tendency to do that. So I'm working on that. Um, but you might mean something completely different to that. Ultimately, yes, there is an archetype of judger. Um, and what is it that you mean by that? Is it something that is uplifting and of a, let's say, and oh, I'm with your people. They know this. Okay, the high vibe version of that, right? Versus the low vibe version of that. We can all so yes, there is a high vibe and a low vibe. And is it you're trying to raise yourself and the world, or are you trying to let's just go back to the burn it all down, kind of thing because you don't like it or it's not working or whatever.
We have to move on, but I want to give an example too, and I'm really glad that you have this beautiful soul questioning what they think judger is. I asked my husband about authority one day, because I have a very set idea of what authority is, and he had a very set idea on what authority was. And when he told me, they were completely opposite. So his idea of authority is those beings that are in a position where they have the ability to make sure that you do something. Judges, police officers, runners of countries, et cetera, et cetera. For me, the word authority is I am the one who's knowledgeable on the subject that I am bringing to you. I'm the authority on it. So take a closer look at what the possibilities of what that word might actually mean for you. Is so
Right. And
powerful.
and think about it too in terms of the actual word that you're using. So for me, uh, I had, and I won't go into all the details, but I always bulked like I had, let's say, a very negative opinion of leader, right? That term and what that to me represented. Um, and so when I started understanding in myself, I am part of my purpose in this life is to be a leader. I was like, oh no, no, right? But when I started to do some internal work on that and actually stop, okay, what's going on here with this? And then realize like, you know, first of all, I do need to shift my understanding of what a leader is or expand it is really what it is because there are leaders that fit that, what I thought. But leader is a whole other big thing. It encompasses a lot of things, right?
Oh yeah.
Um, but for myself, I was like, as a guide, you're you still fall into the category of leader, right? But I prefer both the imagery and the energy of the word of guide versus leader. So I don't call myself a leader, I call myself guide, right?
I love
Um,
that.
so
You
just,
know,
it's thinking about the actual word that you're using. So as a judge, is there a word that actually might better represent energetically what you're going for?
I love that. I think you guys can really tell that when Lady Amaran and I get together, wow.
We could go on forever.
Like seriously, we're over the hour, like literally only by a minute, thank goodness. But we could easily talk for another hour easily, and it be enthralling, like you guys would be right on the edge of your seat listening, kind of thing. I would really love for you, Lady Amaran, to explain what your beautiful offering is, the Lost Hero's Guide, Awakening Your Inner Power and Reclaiming Your Path, please.
Yes. So it's a
Also,
little,
just
oh,
one sec. And everybody, as you're listening, hashtag takeaways in the comments as well, please. Thank
yes.
you.
Yes, I'm loving seeing everything in the comments. Though I do get distracted, so I've been trying not to pay too much attention. Um, Speaking of distracted, okay, the Lost Heroes Guide. Okay, that's where we were. Okay. So yeah, so it's a great little booklet that basically is the the steps and the tools um for helping you step into your power, right? Understanding things to to help you start that journey, things to look at, um, tools that you can use, like quantum human design, um, and really start to shift into that mindset. Um, I've tried to design it as a kind of beginner friendly, you know, way, under knowing that not everybody has the same level of gaming experience and everything as I do. Um, so yeah, so it's supposed to be a really easy introduction to helping you understand the steps and the tools that you can use to, and I don't say begin your hero's journey because you're already on it, whether you know it or not, right? But to do it with intention. So,
Thank you. Lady Amaran.
wow. Yeah. Oh, this is so great. I really, I love just being around you, and our talks are just like, yeah, I don't want them to end, but
Yeah. Well, and we will, I have those podcasts, the Step into Light and the Dragon Tales, on my YouTube channel, as well as this playlist, the All About Woo 2025. Uh, uh, you will definitely be seeing more of Lady Amaran. You know, she's a fixture in my world, truly. And just like many of the other guest speakers are very much a fixture in my world. And when I say fixture, it's like they're talisman, they're mentors, they're space holders. There are so many beautiful things. And I just love being on the journey and with each and every one of you. And Lady Amaran, thank you so very much for being here.
thank you for having me. Thank you, everybody.
So we're basically coming to the end of it. This incredible All About Woo Summit. Very, very magical experience. I've been really, so very, very blessed that, we started out this conversation with Christina de Souza and really about speaking about our sacred gifts, and that this comes so easily to me so that I can provide something like this to you. And like I said at the beginning, and I've said a couple times throughout, is that there's that yoke with the two watering pails and one has a leak that's watering the flowers. This All About Woo is the water pail, and you guys are all the flowers that are being watered. And I just really want you to take that into your heart and recognize the flower that each of you are and how much you've grown because of this. I'm getting so emotional over this. You guys are very, very magical. I love each and every one of you. And let's take a moment to close this beautiful, beautiful circle. So, we're rubbing shoulders, we're rubbing light and light, frequency and frequency. We've come together in this beautiful, magical, sacred space. Breathing in a collective sigh of wow, a collective sigh of woo, the world of oneness. Remembering that the journey continues on, the opportunities continue on, the magic continues on. Feeling into the power that each and every one of us are, and the beautiful ripple that that's created, the camaraderie, companionship, support, the power. And so it is. And just as a final note, I did mention at the beginning of this day today that I am offering that beautiful first call of the Medicine of the Moons, the celebratorial year, as a gift to each and every one of you. And hashtag moon in the comments if you're ready to have me put you onto that list specifically. Otherwise, it will also be coming out in the emails. And that first call is September 16th. And I just want to bring the flow of this beautiful energy to continue to help what the flow has already been doing in this, that letting go, that surrendering, and really stepping into your power and whatever that looks like and whatever that feels like. Know that you guys are the moons in your own world. Every part of you is very magical. I love you guys. Take care.